Howdy folks, I'm Satisfied Bear and Ground Shrew, shamelessly swaying to sensational songs.
I'm Amber.
And here are more sensational songs for us to sway to. It's the bopping and the hipping things that are going on with the youngsters. Let's get started. Alright folks, and our first letter is titled, I'm a 33-year-old female and I told my boyfriend, a 33-year-old male, that I'm no longer interested in marriage. Am I the jerk? Throwaway account. I'm a 33-year-old female and I've been in a 10-year relationship with my boyfriend Carl, a 33-year-old male. After the first year of a relationship, I made it very clear that I intended to be a wife someday. By the time I was 28, I started to remind him of my goals and expectations, and Carl told me that while he knew that he wanted to marry me, he just wasn't ready yet and didn't like how I was pressuring him and called me controlling. Eventually, we broke up, but 6 months later, we got back together and even moved in together. Looking back at it now, I realize that that wasn't the best decision, but I was so emotionally attached to this man and felt so invested that I was willing to go back to him. Carl and I have now been living together for 4 years, and while I stopped being happy about it after the first 6 months, living with him isn't a bad experience. Plus, I've always thought that us getting married was just around the corner because he said that he was ready to commit to me, but he wanted to wait for the right time because I deserved a perfect proposal and a more stable husband. I've been going to therapy for the past 2 years and recently had an epiphany. Since my childhood, I have always wanted a wedding, but I never really gave much thought about being a married woman 24/7 and what that would mean. Given my country's shift in politics and the new laws that politicians are trying to pass, I realize that not only am I fine with never getting married, but I'm starting to lean more into no longer possessing the desire to get married. Since then, it feels like I've been set free in a way, and I've started to focus on myself. One of the major things that I've done is I've told Carl that I'll no longer be assisting babysitting his nephew and niece, and instead focus more of my time into getting certified in something to increase my earnings potential and just relaxing. Carl seemed nonchalant about it at first, but then said that we needed to have a sit down when I sent Carl's mom and his brother a text that they had 3 weeks before I stopped helping out completely. Carl said that while he understands my desire for more personal time, it's important to be there and sacrifice for family. I told him that he could switch around his own work schedule and help with the kids since they're technically his family. And he said that the children love me and that one day they would be my family too, once we were man and wife. It was in that moment that I told him that I no longer desired marriage. And while I gave my reasons to Carl, he still took it as me wanting to break up with him and or thinking that he would make a terrible husband. That's not the case at all, but he's starting to lash out and get suspicious, and I just don't know what to do. How can I get my boyfriend to see that it's me, not him? All right, folks, what do you think?
I mean, I don't think Opie's in the wrong for not wanting to get married to this man. It seems like he's been stringing her along for a very long time, but I think it may be time to call it quits on this relationship. If you are feeling unfulfilled and like he wouldn't be a good partner to you in the long term, it's time to reevaluate and see if this is really what you want out of life.
Well, I think that it seems like OP is happy enough, and they realize now that the whole marriage thing is just not really in the cards for them, right? And I think that as long as they're happy with Carl and they feel like Carl is a good partner to them, then they can continue to be with this person. I think that OP has made up their minds. They're not interested in marrying anyone, right? They're interested in increasing their own self-development and moving forward in their career and focusing on those kinds of things, and that's fine. Now Carl might not be as interested in that, right? And if that's
Yeah.
the case, if he's not interested in that dynamic, then at that point in time that might be a deal breaker for him, because he was under the impression that she would want to get married someday. But to be fair, he did drag his feet on that for a long time.
Well, that's the vibe. I'm getting that he doesn't really want to be married. He just wants the benefits of having OP around. Like, why can't he babysit his niece and nephew?
Yeah.
And the fact that he's not willing to rearrange things and is pressuring OP to do this, I think is all the reason why she shouldn't marry him. If they were to have kids, it would be an OP thing. He's not going to be an equal partner.
Yeah, well, they love you more or something like that, right? Or
Mm-hmm.
you get along with them better, or you're just a better mom than me.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, that's a real concern here. And I mean, I don't know what OP's stance on having kids are, or not, but I think that it certainly is a risk if they did end up having kids. But let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck. And Big Techie 6 says, would you still want marriage with a guy who was thrilled to marry you, committed from the beginning and wanting to do it so badly? It sounds like maybe you didn't break up when you should have, and maybe just don't want marriage with him when he's clearly fumbled the bag. I know that many men would love to get married and wouldn't waste time playing married without committing. I'm sorry that you're going through this. And OP replies, I honestly don't see myself wanting marriage even then. It was always the wedding that I wanted because I loved how much of a princess the women were treated in the films that I watched. I mean, to be fair, yeah, the industry, the film industry does depict these fairy tale-esque weddings where everything is perfect, and that can put a lot of pressure on people. And Slow Confection 3110 says, I'm curious what Carl's mom and brother require your help with that you needed to give 3 weeks notice that you would no longer be helping them. Was it the niece and nephew's childcare or something more? And OP replies, Carl's brother has 50-50 custody of his children, but childcare after school is expensive where we live, so his mom was initially watching the kids, but it was getting to be too much, so I offered to help out, and that's been the way it has been for about 3 years. I don't feel right just quitting on something like this without notice and wanting to emotionally prepare the kids that they may not see me as often as before. I mean, I think that's a very fair way of approaching this, right? And Veterus71 says, and what does Carl do to help your family? And OP replies, we don't live close enough to my family for Carl to consistently offer help of any kind on a regular basis. And Lid, oh whoa, ho 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 ho, says, a perfect proposal. That's an excuse to put it off as long as possible. He was trying to string you along. I think that you're trying to convince yourself that you don't want to be married. The blasé attitude towards anything related to you as a couple, doing things to help the family, for instance, is your way of detaching. I don't understand why, if you're not concerned with the commitment, why you're worried about how your boyfriend views it. He's lashing out not because you have conceded defeat when it comes to marriage. He's lashing out because you're not doing what he expects you to do. Play happy family. You need to help him out. His needs, again, his needs, his priorities, not yours. For 10 years, he has had excuses as to why he hasn't proposed, and now that you've dropped it, he's suspicious. You've spent 10 years worrying about his feelings, and what has he given you? And I'll repeat, he strung you along. He's fine with things as they are, as long as you're helping. I'm sure that that's not the only instance where you help. You probably do all of the wife duties. Get out, not the jerk. And OP replies, I feel like I need to take some responsibility for the perfect proposal thing. As a child, I really loved the fairy tale weddings that I would see in the movies, and I told my boyfriend that is what I wanted in terms of a proposal and wedding. I really wanted that princess treatment, so when he said that he wanted to wait for the perfect proposal, he was kind of falling in line with my expectations. Does that change your opinion on anything there?
I mean, I feel like he's doing this as an excuse. I feel like it was very convenient to him that he could just fall back on this. I mean, again, look at the way he pulls out the someday when you're my future wife when
Yeah.
OP wants to stop doing childcare.
Yeah.
That shows you it's a carrot that he's been dangling over OP's head all this time.
I do feel like it is a carrot. And I feel like his reaction shows that it was a carrot because he was upset that his carrot was no longer effective. It was no longer a tool to manipulate OP with. So I do feel like there's probably some manipulation here that OP might not be even seeing.
Yeah.
All right, folks, and our next letter is titled, Am I a jerk for telling my pregnant sister that I wanted nothing more to do with her baby shower? I'm a male, late 30s. My younger sister is early 30s. She's pregnant with her first child. The family is thrilled for her as she and her partner have been trying for a long time to get pregnant. When she announced it, she mentioned that she was having a baby shower, and my sister and I offered to help out where we could. For some reason, she took that as my brother said that he would pay for the shower and drafted a guest list of 120 people. I decided to text her one day and ask what her budget was, and I heard nothing for at least a day. My other sister and mom mentioned that I had said to her that I would pay for the whole thing. That was never something that I had offered to do. She never addressed that with me directly and said that she and her partner would pay for everything. I took charge of creating the eVites registration site, driving an hour away to book the hall and put a deposit down, offered to do the centerpieces, pay for the stroller, driving back to the hall to add extra time to the reservation because the archaic system doesn't allow people to book online, agree to pick up the food on the day of, answer every inquiry from her guests who've registered in the system. My husband has offered to help out with the games for the shower. We saw my sister last week, and she texted me on Monday saying, if he doesn't want to do the games, then tell me so that I can give it to someone else. I finally messaged back saying that I thought that her message was a little bit harsh, and if she was trying to imply something, that she should just say it out loud. She then responded by saying, fine, I'm disappointed by how much work that you've put into the shower. That's when I lost it. I was objective and I listed everything that I contributed so far. I also pointed out that I'd never agreed to pay for the baby shower with 120 guests. I don't know much about them, but I assume that they were intimate events in someone's home and not something the size of a wedding. I had less people at my own wedding. In addition to this, she complains about other people in her life to my mom and sister about how no one is pitching in. She asked my mom what she was contributing to the shower. My 70-year-old retired mother was taken aback by that comment and offered to cook food for the 120 people. She has been so ungrateful throughout the entire process and has since uninvited me to her shower and sarcastically said, enjoy your 40th, and removed me from the sibling group chat. All right, folks, what do you think of this?
Yeah, definitely not the jerk. The entitlement here is unreal. It sounds like OP had been doing a ton of things, and his sister had all these unspoken expectations that she never communicated to anyone.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm not going to tell you that I'm paying for everything, but I'm going to assume you're paying for it secretly and just let mom and sister talk about it so you'll have no choice but to. Like, it just feels very manipulative and guilt trippy, and that's not how a baby shower should be run.
Yeah, I mean, I think that she's being extraordinarily entitled. She's being a momzilla.
Yeah.
And I think that this is not a great place for OP to be. She's clearly, taking advantage of a lot of people's here and their kindness and whatnot. In the moment that OP says, hey, I'm doing a lot of stuff for you, she uninvites them from the shower that
Right.
they've largely put together.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I think that OP should just be happy that they can get out of the drama here.
Yeah, and like don't spend anything. If you've already spent things on her, like make sure not to spend anything else. Maybe send her an invoice for the things you already have paid,
Mm-hmm.
and don't cave to her nonsense.
Exactly. But let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck. All right, folks, and our next letter is an update. Update to Women Wants to Give Birth in My House. Amber wants to give a synopsis on this one.
Yeah, so basically, OP bought this home from an older couple. Years later, this pregnant woman shows up at the doorstep and is like, I'm the daughter of these people and I need to give birth in your home. And OP was like, no, you can't give birth here. And then we had another update where basically the parents were like, yeah, that's our daughter and we're in no contact with her because she has some difficulties.
Yeah. So let's get into this one. Well, I didn't think that I would be updating, but this got ridiculous. So if you remember from the original post, the apparent daughter of the previous owners of my house came to my door a little bit ago and asked if she could give birth in my bedroom. Honestly, it's as ridiculous as it sounds. Reading my original post won't make it make much more sense. A couple of things before I get into it. Some friends have shown me that the post has indeed broke Reddit containment and pointed a few things out to me. So I'm going to set a few things straight. Most of the other websites assume that I'm a woman and I'm non-binary, and I will not elaborate further on that point. Not being snippy about it, but I wanted to set the record straight. Lol. On that point, second thing, some people have assumed that the post was fake and that I probably made up the scenario because I think that it's hot. No, I don't. I think the entire scenario is creepy and off-putting. And lastly, yes, I know that 21 is pretty young to be buying a house and made the whole thing seem fake. I live in the Midwest, which is pretty cheap to begin with. It's not a huge house, and I got a small claim after an incident at work. So I used the money from that for my future. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter what I say. I know that some people will assume that I've made the whole thing up or used ChatGPT to make it. But that said, if you don't think that this is real, just move on with your day. I truly wish that it wasn't real. Last note, there were a couple of people asking why I got the cops involved with the original incident. And I only got them involved when the original homeowners told me that the woman was a little bit unstable. So I did that because when you are told that a person that came to your door at night might be a bit unhinged, you take a step for your own peace of mind. Anyways, last Friday about 1:30, I get a knock slash heavy pounding on my door. I go to answer it, wondering just who would be visiting me in the middle of the night, when I see a familiar face at the door. Is the pregnant woman with her husband, boyfriend slash partner. I don't know what, and the two women who I assume are midwives. From what I gather, the woman went into labor earlier that day and was hoping that I had changed my mind. I haven't, and I asked them to please leave. The woman starts having either a breakdown or contractions or something because she just starts screaming on my driveway. One of the other women in the group tried to explain to me that they drove 4 hours to get here and if I wouldn't mind letting them set up. She tells me that the woman had told them that she arranged for the house to be used and that she was nearly ready to push. From what I understood, the woman had lied to her midwife about me agreeing to this and essentially tried to trick her into forcing me to let this happen at my house. I tell her a firm no, and that if needed, there's a hospital only 5 minutes away from where I live. The same hospital that my friend works at from the original post. No, she wasn't there. She was on vacation at the time, and asked them all to leave. The woman starts screaming and crying about how I'm ruining this for her. But between me closing and locking the door, her partner and the midwives, she gets back in the van and they drive off. I don't know if this was a guilt trip or if they were delusional or what, but here's the thing about me. I'm an absolute pushover. I probably would have just pretended to be asleep and not even opened the door and waited them out. But here's the thing. I had a different friend, her wife, and their highly autistic child spending the night on their way back home after the holidays. I'm cheaper than a hotel. All the noise and commotion, plus unexpected midnight visitor, severely triggered the kid, and took nearly 2 hours to calm her back down, enough to get her back to sleep. She's a good kid, and means the world to my friend, so having someone else who would have been severely affected by this, I managed to find a bit of my spine, which is why I wound up opening the door to ask them to leave. Honestly, I shouldn't have even opened the door and just called the cops first thing, but the good news is that after a couple of minutes of talking to the midwife, she agreed to take the whole show elsewhere. After they all left, I did call the police on the non-emergency line, and I updated them on what was going on, and gave them the footage of the previous incident and the latest video I have of the incident. I'm really hoping that now she's given birth, that she'll leave me alone. Either way, in addition to my Ring camera, I've asked my neighbor to keep an eye out and call me if anything happens while I'm at work. I also got deadbolts installed for all of my exterior doors. I changed the locks when I bought the house, which honestly seems to have been a good idea. But this is just to make me feel a little bit better about the whole thing. Alright folks, what do you think?
Hopefully the whole saga is over now. I'm sorry for Opie that they've been dealing with all of this.
Yeah, I mean, I think that this is a unfortunate situation that they've had to put up with, and I think that this is one of those situations where they made the right move with getting the police involved. They've been kind of keeping the footage and trying to make sure that they have a record of everything that's going on. It's always difficult to know exactly what someone is capable of. So, I mean, I'm glad that it ended up that it was really the daughter and not someone trying to like scam them or steal from them or something like that.
Yeah.
But I still think that, of course, this isn't OP's problem. And I mean, what are they going to do? Like, if she has a second kid or a third kid or any number of other things, right? Are they going to continue to demand to use the house? And it's just going to be one thing after another thing, right?
Yeah.
And I can't see um, this being a good idea to let her use the house in that
Yeah.
respect. But let me know what you folks think. Anyhow, take care and good luck. All right, folks, it is tea time. Grab your beverages of choice. I've got some tea right here, and Amber, she has a joke.
What would you call a Virginia Woolf classic written for the advancement of undead women?
Oh, I would call it Pretty Women and Zombies.
A tomb of one's own.
Oh,
And today is a room of one's own day to celebrate that essay of hers.
oh, very good, very good. And I have licorice spice. All right, folks, that's all the time we have for today. Thank you so much for watching. Happy spectacular Saturday, folks. I hope your Saturday is off to a spectacular start. Amber, we need some kind of moral advice and or guidance, and please have it on stringing people along.
Don't do it.
Yeah, I mean, don't string people along. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you all tomorrow.
Bye.